Most people who go missing in small towns are found within a week: runaways, accidents, simple explanations. In Millfield, Ohio, 17 people vanished from the same street in 11 months. No accidents, no explanations, just houses rotting from the inside out, overnight, and a smell that neighbors describe the same way. Every single time. Like something very old had been standing there. This is what happened. The Kowalski house. It started with the Kowalski family. Diane Kowalski noticed it first. A smell in the basement, damp, wrong, like water that had been sitting somewhere dark for a very long time. She told her husband Ray about it on a Tuesday evening in March. He went down to check, came back up saying he couldn't smell anything. Probably just the water heater. Wednesday morning, a stain on the basement wall. Dark, wet, about the size of a dinner plate. Ray painted over it. Thursday morning, it was back, bigger. And the paint around it, the paint he had applied less than 24 hours ago, looked old, cracked, like it had been there for decades. He called a contractor. The contractor came Friday. He went down into the basement. He was down there for maybe 4 minutes before he came back up the stairs very quickly and told the Kowalskis he couldn't help them. Wouldn't say why, wouldn't look at either of them directly. Got in his truck and left and never answered their calls again. Saturday, the stain had spread across the entire wall, and the wall itself had started to sink inward, not crumbling, sinking, softening, like the concrete was becoming something else, something with the texture of wet earth, of soil that had never seen light. Sunday morning, Diane went to wake her son for church. His room was empty. The floor beside his bed had collapsed inward. A hole, not a structural failure, not a broken board. Something that looked like the floor had been pulled down from below, the edges soft and dark and wrong. Her son was 8 years old. He was never found. The spread by April, 3 more houses on Millfield Road had reported the smell. The Hendersons at number 14. The old woman at number 22, who lived alone and whose name nobody on the street seemed to know. The young couple at number 31 who had moved in 6 months ago and who had been so happy about the neighborhood, about the big yard, about the price. The stains came next. Always the same dark, wet, spreading. Always in the lowest point of the house. Basements, crawl spaces. The corners of ground floor rooms where the wall met the floor. And always the aging. Whatever the stain touched, aged. Paint cracked, wood rotted, concrete softened. A brand new washing machine at number 14 was found completely rusted through, the metal eaten away like it had been sitting in salt water for 30 years, though it had been installed 11 months ago. Mrs. Henderson called a plumber, then a structural engineer, then her insurance company. The insurance company sent an adjuster. He walked through the house, took photographs, wrote notes. He went down to look at the basement. He did not come back up. Mr. Henderson waited 20 minutes before going down himself. The basement was empty. The adjuster's clipboard was on the floor. His pen was beside it. His shoes, both of them neatly together, were sitting in the middle of the room. The stain on the wall was larger than it had been 20 minutes ago. And in the center of it, a handprint. Large. Too large. The fingers too long. Pressed deep into the softened concrete like it was clay. Like whatever made it had pushed through from the other side and held on. Mr. Henderson sold the house the following week for whatever he could get. He moved his family to his mother's place in Cincinnati. He told people later that the thing he remembered most, more than the stain, more than the shoes, more than the handprint, was that when he was standing in that basement alone, he had the absolute certain feeling that something was standing behind him. He didn't look. He walked up the stairs and he never went back down. He said that not looking was the only right decision he made that entire year. Number 22. The old woman at number 22. Someone eventually found out her name was Margaret Eloise Farrow. 79 years old, retired school teacher, lived alone since her husband passed in 2019, was the one who left something behind, a letter, found on her kitchen table after she disappeared in late May, addressed to nobody, written in the careful, even handwriting of someone who had spent 40 years writing on blackboards. I have seen it twice now. The first time was 3 weeks ago. I was in the kitchen at night and I saw it in the backyard through the window. I thought it was a person, a very tall, very thin person, standing at the edge of the yard, where the light doesn't reach, standing completely still. I watched it for a long time. It didn't move. Eventually, I went to bed. The second time was last night. I was in the kitchen again. I don't sleep well anymore, and it was closer. Standing just outside the window. I could see it more clearly. I don't want to describe it. What I will say is that it looked at me, and I had the feeling very clearly, very certainly that it had been watching this house for a long time. That it had been watching me specifically. That whatever it was about this house, or about me, that had drawn its attention, it was finished waiting. If anyone reads this, don't come looking. Whatever is in this house now, in the walls, in the floor, it came with him. It goes where he goes, and he has been standing in this neighborhood for a very long time, moving between the houses, going deeper each time. Don't come looking. Don't go into the basements. And if you see something standing very still at the edge of your yard at night, don't watch it. Close the curtains, go to bed, and pray that by morning it has moved on to someone else. The letter ended there. Margaret Eloise Farrow was never found. What was left? By August, 6 houses on Millfield Road were abandoned. The remaining residents had left quietly, quickly, with whatever they could carry. Nobody talked about why publicly. Nobody wanted to be the person who said the things they had seen out loud, in daylight, to someone who hadn't seen them. A journalist came in September, young, ambitious, working on a piece about the property values, the abandonment, the insurance claims. She walked the street with a recorder and a camera. She knocked on the door of number 31, the young couple's house. Empty now for 2 months. The door opened. She went in. Her recorder was found on the front porch 3 days later. The last 40 seconds of audio were reviewed by the police and then quietly filed away. The official report listed the contents of those 40 seconds as ambient noise, wind, structural settling. The journalist who reviewed them before handing them to police said something different in a conversation she had once with someone she trusted. She said the last thing on the recording was a sound she had never heard before and hoped to never hear again. She said it sounded like something very old, moving very slowly through a space that shouldn't have been large enough to contain it. She said it sounded like it was coming up from somewhere beneath the floor. She said it sounded close. The journalist who had gone into the house was never found. Millfield Road, now. The street is still there. You can find it on Google Maps. Millfield Road, just outside the center of town. Satellite view shows the houses still standing, most of them anyway. A few are visibly collapsed, the roofs caved in, the walls buckled. What satellite view doesn't show is the smell. Residents on the adjacent streets still talk about it sometimes. That damp, wrong, ancient smell that drifts over on still nights, like something very old has been standing nearby for a very long time. Nobody goes down Millfield Road after dark. Nobody has for years. And on the nights when it's very quiet, when the wind isn't moving and the neighborhood is still, people who live nearby say they sometimes see something. At the end of the road, standing at the edge of where the streetlights stop. Very tall, thin, completely still. They've learned, over time, what Margaret Eloise Farrow figured out too late. Close the curtains. Go to bed. Don't watch it. Because the moment you start watching is the moment it starts walking toward you.